I'm Eric Schumacher Rasmussen. I'm the editor of StreamingMedia.com and Streaming Media Magazine, and I'm also the chair of the Discovery Track this year at Streaming Media East. How many people here have been to a Discovery Track track before? A couple, good. People coming back. This is something we added to the show a few years ago to give people who wanted to come and check the exhibits, weren't quite ready to pay the full delegate pass, but to give them some great content. And it's worked out very well, and I hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions, I'll be in the back of the room all day long. We are, at least some of the speakers are giving away door prizes, as you probably have seen on the program. If you had your badge scanned as you came in, you are registered for the door prize. At the end of the session, I will pick a name at random from the badge scanner, and we'll announce the winner after each speaker. Also, after each speaker, if there's time, we'll have Q&A. I will have a handheld mic that I will come around the room with, so please wait until I come to you with the mic to ask any questions. So, I think that's all I have for programming notes at this point. Like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me at any point during the day. Our first speaker today is from Touchstream. Brenton Ough will talk about why operational analytics are vital to support live streaming quality of experience. Brenton?
Thanks very much, Eric. Why are they important? Well, because it's live. It's live, that's why. It's not VOD. VOD you encode and you can QA it, you can check it, you can encode it again if it didn't work right the first time. But live is live, and you've got signal acquisition, encoding, packaging, all the way to origin, and then out to your CDN and delivery. That's all got to happen, every second. And if something goes wrong, it's broken. And that's when you lose customers, or customers complain. So that's the point. That's why it's important. So let's just start with a little video.
Hey, we've got a problem here.
What did you do?
Nothing. I stirred the tanks.
Whoa. Hey.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we have a problem.
So, whilst it's not exactly live streaming, it's the point is that someone, what did you do? Nothing. Stirred the tanks. Who knows what went wrong? Then all the lights just go off. Nobody knows what the problem is, and this is a life and death situation. So it's not quite the same for live streaming, but the point is you've really got to get your best people on it straight away, and you've got to have as much information about what the potential causes of your issue are. Okay, so we'll start with some numbers. If anyone hasn't actually seen these numbers before in some form, I'd be very surprised, but they're pretty classic numbers that we see a lot. The main gist of it is that streaming is huge, and it's growing very rapidly. You wouldn't be here at Streaming Media if you didn't know that. But it's a big industry and growing all the time. So some more numbers that actually are a little bit scary, and these numbers are coming out a lot more now. There's quite a few companies putting these types of things out. But basically, what happens when there is problems? When things buffer, when it's poor quality, whatever. It's basically people are abandoning. Users leave. Users complain. They ask for refunds. That sort of thing. So these numbers are start to get a bit scary. And then what does that mean from a financial perspective? Because at the end of the day, everyone's in business, and so in business you need to make money, and you can't afford to lose money. So a typical big live sporting event, and we do some big. We have companies like Sky in the UK where they regularly get 200,000-300,000 people watching a Champions League game. That's just these are the sorts of numbers. And how many of them do you do? Subscription fees, often you can get a day pass or a month pass or whatever, but often $10 for an event. And so if you have abandonment or buffering due to problems, and remember, if it's live streaming, it's a sporting event. Once it's happened, it's pretty hard to get back from it quickly unless you really know what's going on. So what can that cost you? I mean, you know, if you just do the numbers, and it's a big example, but you know, it can cost a lot of money if things fail. Okay, so what are the things that make people scream? Looks like my mum when she was younger. Anyway, so, you know, stalled video, out of sync, missing audio, missing video, or just plain not working. These are a lot of the things that can happen to streams, and I'm pretty sure we've all seen them happen. So, So what if you could know before the customers complain about your problems? What we do at Touchstream is we monitor live streams. We do it in an active way. We're actually probing those streams from the internet at the CDN front door every minute of every day, and we're testing every stream, every format, every bit rate, every minute. What this allows us to do is very quickly identify problems, and the way we do it helps you identify what the root cause might be. So, by doing this, what if you could reduce the abandonment rate by 25 percentage points? That's the aim. So just a little bit about our platform. It's totally cloud-based. So the central part is all Amazon, and that's where all the really heavy lifting happens. We use a lot of very advanced Amazon features to make it work at the scale that it does. And then more on the right, the purple bits in the middle on the right, these are our cloud pollers. So they're actually distributed in hundreds of locations all over the internet, all over the world. And basically, they just, you know, they're our dumb pollers. They get told what to do, and they do it, and they just return the results. So that's the beauty of it. We can actually monitor anything from anywhere, but still have our core in the highly advanced Amazon Web Services environment. So we typically are polling the CDN endpoints, so you know, classic big names, Akamai Level 3, and also the origin as well. This is a really useful way of doing things. It sort of sounds like we're doing the same thing twice, which we kind of are, but the point about doing it that way is if you monitor the origin and the CDN and you see both go red, well, it's the origin that's the problem. So look back into your infrastructure, into your encoding. But if the origin's good and the CDN's bad, then it's a CDN problem. So you've got a problem with that delivery through the CDN. So it's a good way to triage, and really what we're trying to do is minimize the mean time to repair. So by having you look in the right place straight away, you know, you've obviously halved the potential effort. Okay. So, you know, just a little bit of graphics of what our interface looks like, which just, you know, basically here's all the red things are the things that bubble to the top and tell you that there's problems. And then down on the right there, we're capturing everything that we do, so you can get really in-depth detail about what's actually happened. So the actual calls, the responses, the headers associated with them, that's all captured all the time. So more, you know, lots of dashboards, lots of different ways to look at the data, and we, you know, report against all the different KPIs that we're measuring. And again, this helps to spot trends as well. And of course, we're sending you actionable alerts. That's the thing about what we do. We call ourselves an operational analytics platform. Our customers are operations people, not marketing, not, you know, that sort of side, which more of the in-player type of things are. So we are monitoring things at the CDN front door, things that are within your control, things as an operations group you would need to take some action on. Not just say, oh dear, some of the ISPs in far-flung parts of the country aren't working well, because there's actually nothing you can do about that. It's not a real operational issue. And other tools do that. So, yeah, just a couple of quick success stories. We've got down in Australia, we monitor the AFL, which is our very exciting major sport. If anyone's seen it, you'll know what it's like, very fast action. We only have smaller numbers in Australia, but all our games get 20 to 30,000 viewers. Basically, during last season's finals, the way these live sports apps work is that they start the encoding things, you know, way before the game, but the app itself isn't switched into it. So there's no watch now in the app, the consumer app. So what happens is we're testing it, well, way before it's actually in the app. And the problem with a sort of in-player approach, which many have heard of things like Conviva and whatever, is they depend on people actually watching it. So it would have had to get switched into the app, someone start to watch it, and it fails. At that time, the game's just about to start. Most problems, if anyone technical been around these sort of problems before, most problems always take hours to fix. A game is a couple of hours long. So realistically, if the problem hadn't been detected early, no one would have seen the game on streaming. We detected it at 5 a.m. that there was a problem with the encoder, and basically the game didn't start till just after midday. So they had 6 hours or so to fix the problem, which they did in about 3. So without monitoring the way we monitor it, no one would have seen that final game that day. And that's a typical example of some of the things that we do. And we've got another pay TV operator in the UK. They basically used to have a problem with their primary secondary encoding chain, which they could never detect. It would just manifest itself in strange errors for users. Once we'd added our monitoring in, basically we actually picked out what the problem was. And in the past, when they'd had this problem, the only way they could detect it was hundreds of people would complain. They couldn't figure out what it was, so they'd reboot everything in the encoding chain, and that would fix the problem. A couple of hours outages after many people complained. Once we started monitoring and could actually identify what the problem was, every time it happened, they would just press the rescan option, which would synchronize the in-vivio halos, and the problem would go away. No outage at all, and virtually no customers impacted. So it's kind of turned around the way that they approach issues. So just again with the numbers, we'll come back to the numbers again. So back with where we started, and it's a big number, and you can see how it comes. But the point is, you can get a very large ROI by avoiding problems, and that's what we specialise in. So that's it. We're trying to keep everyone streaming smoothly, but probably not with smooth. So that was it. Did anyone have any questions? Yes.
You mentioned Conviva, which
Yep.
is an in-player monitoring system.
Yep.
Does your solution have that or not? Or
No, we don't. No, we don't do that because there's plenty of them. Most of our bigger customers have both, have us and Conviva, or Conviva equivalents, of which there's a couple. So yeah, we don't think they already exist. We actually work well together. We actually work with Conviva. We know each other quite well. We don't actually really compete against Conviva. They do some different things that we don't do, and we do a lot that they don't do. So we actually feel like we partner well together.
So it sounds like I would need both to have a full end-to-end solution.
I would always recommend. In fact, I wrote a little paper, and if you download our white paper, you'll see I actually recommend both. I mean, of course, if you only have to have one, you should choose Touchstream. But if you can, you use both because they do different things.
Other questions? Let me bring the
Oh, yes,
microphone around.
sorry.
You mentioned a couple slides back some of the KPIs that you guys are showing on the dashboards. Can you give some examples of what you guys use for internal KPIs when trying to track the quality?
Yes, we use, that's a good question. So we use two key ones. One is a very simple one, it's availability. And we term availability we define it rather toughly as like, are all the bit rates working, like actually working properly? The other one we have, key one we have, which is speed. And speed we define as the time it took to download the fragment divided by the duration of the fragment. So the lower the percentage of that, the better. So if it took 5 seconds to download a 10-second fragment, 50%. As that KPI gets up towards 100%, it's effectively a predictive KPI that says that you're going to suffer buffering, which Conviva will then tell you have suffered buffering. And we know this from our customers that have both. As that percentage goes up, the risk of buffering dramatically increases. And they use that, our customers use that as a trigger to get there quickly. That's probably the most important quality metric we do. We do a couple of other ones which are just derived from those numbers, but they're the two key things that we do. Yes. Oh, sorry, it's just microphone coming.
Is your solution all based in the cloud?
Yes.
Or do you have physical things that can be deployed at the edge of access networks?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So that is a very good question. It is all in the cloud, all virtual appliances. So we do have a couple of telcos where they're on-net solutions. So basically, yes, we have our same probes, exactly the same probe. They need internet access. They call out to effectively a message queue and subscribe to a message queue, which tells them what to do. So as long as they've got that outbound access to subscribe to a message queue, and then everything else is internal. But it's a virtual appliance that has to live on some sort of hypervisor. Yeah.
Did you still have a question over here? I think you were next. Did you?
Just out of curiosity, since you're running things through the internet, do you find that some browsers tend to have more streaming problems, like Chrome versus IE versus Firefox?
Okay.
Without slagging anybody.
Yeah,
just
no.
From a
It's a good
technical
question.
point of view.
We're robotic. Effectively, we don't use a browser to play streams. We actually use code to play stream, and this actually makes our thing quite good. So I know a couple of our customers. They've got they've got to have a smooth format which supports 10 different devices: Xbox, PlayStation, We don't need to play it on all of them because they all connect to the same stream. Right, so we're just testing that smooth stream. Again, that's one of those in-player analytics things that answers the question. We don't do that bit because we're focused mainly on the actual stream itself. So we cover all the devices in one go. Sorry, there's a question. Yeah, just
the unit you used for speed was the time to download divided by the fragment size and time.
yes, duration,
Okay.
like time duration.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. It's important that as well because obviously that's why it's a percentage because it has you have to standardise it. Everyone's different, and you actually have to investigate the manifest to find out how long it is.
What does the integration look like with license servers? Like, say you have a proxy in between so that you can check entitlements and authorization to your
Right.
application.
Yep, great question. So we support URL signing, which is probably the most common thing. So Akamai Edge Auth. We can do player authentication as well, even though we're not a real player. And basically we use signing techniques to do all that. If that isn't available, we can actually make an API. The most common thing that happens is you have to have a real login. You make the calls, you get the log, and you get a cookie or some sort of other token, and then we just apply that to the calls. Yeah. But we do a lot of authentication. Thanks.
All right, I think that wraps up